What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. But today we're gonna do a panel discussion, and we're gonna talk to some gentlemen that I highly respect as fathers. And I'm gonna let them tell you a little bit about themselves. But the reason why we're gonna be doing this this way is because I want to have more conversations with different individuals, specifically dads, and hopefully there are some women, moms that would be able to come along and have the discussion with us as well. So I'm gonna introduce none other than Mr. Joe P, and then Mr. Dwayne Jones. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on?
I'm chilling. Y'all nervous?
A little bit. First podcast. So, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
hey, we just having a conversation online. That's all it is. I really appreciate y'all being here. Time it costs everybody something. You know what I'm saying? So I really value this. So we'll make it as good as possible. All right. So before we get started, we'll start with Joe. Kind of tell us a little bit about who you are um, in about 30, 45 seconds.
Yeah, man. Born and raised Dallas, Texas, Oak Cliff. Um, I like the facial expressions
Yeah.
when I say,
Oh yeah. That's real right
you know. But no, man. I'm a management consulting executive. Um, I'm a new father. Actually, my little boy is now going into 5 weeks, so we're running on fumes right now because of the trying to get him to burp and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, man, I'm a dad, so it's a lot of things changing for me. Um, but my girl, she has a daughter who's 4, so I kind of got a little preview over the last couple of years on what it's like to be in that role, in that position, that seat, right? Which is definitely life changing. Um, when she came into the fold, but also now my son is here is very different as well. So that's kind of me in 30 seconds. But
That's a
yeah,
vet.
only child. So I probably have an interesting perspective about that kind of stuff too. But
Mhm.
yeah, man, my parents were together for over Jesus 30 some years. My dad passed away in 2009,
Mm.
and he was my dude. So I definitely have what I think all of my traits and things of what I look up to, what I think about, come from his example, as being a dad. So he was a great one.
That's good. We're gonna get into that too. Dwayne, give us a little bit about you, man.
on. Right on. So originally from Jamaica, came here when I was 8. Now I'm a honorary Texan. Yeah.
The accent changed a little bit, brother. It went from I
Yeah,
heard a little bit, then it went to Texas, real quick.
yeah, man. Long time. Yeah. So I've been here since I
Yeah.
was 8 years old. 34 now. I've been married 7 years now. Have 4 beautiful kids. Oldest is 17. Youngest is 2. Then four, about to be 4, and then a 5-year-old. So the 2 oldest are girls, and then the 2 youngest are boys. So thoroughly blessed. Thoroughly blessed. And I'm glad you made mention of the parents as well. My parents actually they divorced shortly after I got to America. So that was tough. That was a tough part. So
Mhm.
yeah.
We're gonna talk about that. This is an interesting dialogue. So for me, I have 4 kids. The ages are 13, 11, 8, and 4. For those that are new, I'm a widower. My late wife passed about a year ago, right? So I have the dynamic of now being a single father, right? However, I have a dope young lady that helps me. Shout out to Kendra. She probably watching at some point in time, right? And so for me, I wasn't raised with a father. So my examples are had to be my uncle or TV, really.
Mhm.
And then eventually it became like the Bible because I didn't have any other examples. So then it became the Bible. So so we have all these different spectrums of us, but the whole goal is as dads, like we want to be good dads. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter the background we have, we want to be really good dads. All right. And so I want to start out with the first question is what would you say is an active father? And anybody can start. What do you how would you describe an active father?
Man, Dwayne, I'll start off with that one, man. I think when I think about active father, I think about a dad who, a father who actually has conversations with their kids, right? Um, Not disciplinary conversations, not yelling, screaming, but actual conversations about just life, lessons learned, kind of sharing those things that they picked up over the time, And it's kind of funny, man. I think about all those years I was blessed to have my dad, and the way he schooled me was through stories.
Mm.
Mm.
And now that I'm old, I'm 47 now. Um, it's it's interesting because I find myself telling these stories, and it's like even to my girl, I tell her stories, and it's like she's like, "Why are you telling me these stories?" There's a moral to the story. There's a reason why I'm telling the story. Even at work, my coworkers are like, "Man, Joe's the storyteller," but there's a reason why I get something out of every story he tells me, right? So I think when I think about active, it doesn't have to necessarily be like going to every single event, but also there's a way you can be involved with your child without being a single thing.
Mm.
And I think about the conversation and being mentally tapped into where they are, what they're thinking about, asking them open-ended questions, having them express what they feel about certain situations, and how that's a big thing. I think we have a society right now where there's a lot of pressure on kids where they're so concerned about what people think about them and how many likes they get and all this kind of stuff, right? But my old man was like, "Hey, man, look, you do you. You need to think for yourself. If your friends go jump off a mountain, you gonna jump off the mountain too." Like he was constantly these little life lessons each and every time. Anytime he had a chance, every day, there's something he's teaching me that now I feel has made me who I am now. But that's him being active, right? He wasn't at every soccer game. My mom did all that. He wasn't at every orchestra concert rehearsal, right? Um, but he was there in spirit, but he was also there at home too,
That's what's
in,
up.
in a different kind of way.
That's what's up. Appreciate that, man. What about you, Dwayne? How would you describe an active father?
That's interesting. So, uh, for me,
Which part
it,
is interesting? What
it
Joe
all,
said?
no, all of it, because I mean, like, even as from Joe's perspective, Joe's perspective is different than mine. It's most likely different than yours. It's different from a lot of people's perspective. But then what's unique about um, all of it is we're talking about whether or not they're there.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
as for activity is it's not like I had to look up the definition. Mess with you, Elijah. I had to look up the definition. It's like, it says characterized by action rather than contemplation or speculation.
Hmm.
So even in that, it's like action, like being there, being present. Like some people don't have, and whether it's by loss or whether by inactivity. Like for me personally, I didn't. My dad wasn't actively involved in my life until I came to America. Like, so for me, like there was a lot of animosity there towards that, because that participation or that activity, that action wasn't really there for me. But then again, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the presence that was there. So for me, an active father is one that is involved in their child's life. Now, the utmost activity is presence, mentally present, physically present, like there for their emotional needs, like to me, that's what an active father is like. Being aware of whenever there is something going on with your child, that you're able to then be like, hey, something's up. Hey, what's going on? I'm fine. That answer, you'll be able to know the truth because you're there. So that to me is an active father who's able to then gauge what's going on with the child.
That's what's up. I think it's interesting how Joe put it with his dad wasn't necessarily at every event. However, when he was present, there was stories being told, right? And so those stories really carried a lot of weight to provide some examples as well as nuggets as well as life principles for you to kind of carry on, right? So, Joe, what? Go ahead.
It's real funny. You know what's funny about that, man? I was down in East Texas with my
What
family.
about East Texas?
Come on now, Longview,
Okay,
Longview, Martinsville. I know you don't know where that is.
I went to Nacogdoches. I mean, I went to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, so I know about that.
Okay, Highway 19. That
Yes, sir.
going. Okay, but it was funny, man. I was down at we have a farm down there, and I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. So I was really fortunate to have both grandparents, both sides of the family. Married 50 years. Like there's always been that structure for me, and I know I'm very blessed to
Hmm.
to live in that situation. But I was with my grandfather, my dad's dad, right? And we're working outside and digging holes and ditches and all this kind of stuff. And I forgot what I think we were putting a pipe in to go to the well. That's back when they had the well. You go get the water out of the ground type of thing, right? And it was funny because he said to me, it was something I couldn't do and I was struggling with. And his comment to me was, son, you need to learn to take advantage of things, don't let them take advantage of you. And I was like, I'll be down. That's the same thing my dad tells me every time there's an issue. So all the stuff that he was feeding me he was getting it from his dad too.
That's dope.
So it was kind of interesting to hear it directly from my grandfather now. The same exact sayings, the slogans, the story. I was like, oh my God. Okay, this is where this is coming from. Right. It was kind of like he was passing this on. So I feel sorry for my son, and he's probably gonna get just a plethora of it's gonna be tight on him.
Listen, but that's good though. Like that's good
Yeah,
though, because people learn a lot through stories.
Yeah.
Right? I
yeah,
mean, if you think about before, I mean, in the beginning of time, so to speak, when there wasn't writings, they were telling stories through either words, right, and they're just passing them down through tradition, right. And you have to do a really good job of telling the story, right. And those that can tell the story, um, really well, like people remember those lessons a lot easier as opposed to don't do that because
right.
you know what I'm saying.
That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves when I hear parents say something like, kids ask them why, and they're like, "Cause I can't,"
Hey, listen, I want to know what Dwayne think about that one. Hey, do you do that, Dwayne? You say cause I said so.
No, no. Each no. See, I
What
mean,
makes you say why?
sometimes that now after I done explained it a couple of times, and you have
Right.
your limit, then it's like, oh, hey, all right, you're
You
playing
said
now.
I said so.
You
Right.
playing.
Yeah, that's when that comes out. But it's not the initial because I
No,
said so, right? It's because of this, and this.
yeah, I don't want to leave any room for speculation. I want to be
Right.
as straightforward. Hey, and one of the things is like, you understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. All right, now I know that affirmation, that confirmation that, hey, all right, you understand what I'm saying? These are not just vain words. All right, proceed.
Yeah, one of the things that I do that as well. Like I say, do you understand? I do say that, but then if they tell me yes, then they
What
have
I
to explain to me what they understand, right?
And
And
play it
that's
back.
probably the teacher in me, right? Because if you say, because when I was teaching, students would say yes just so that I wouldn't, so I can leave them alone,
Right.
right? But my kids now know that if they say yes and they can't explain it, then that means they wasn't listening or they don't agree or whatever the case may be, right? So they know now they have to have if they have to have an example or be able to restate what it is that they understand. You know,
Mhm.
so I think that's a good point. So you always talk. So we on the point of active fathers, right? So now, would you say, how would you decide on how much time? You know, Joe, you have young kids, right? And Dwayne, you have kind of a mix, right? What is a good time frame of being with your kid? Like, how do you know when it's a good amount of time? Does that make sense of a question?
Man, that's yeah, no, that's a great question. I could take this one. Um, so, in there's a book called Point Man, and one of the stories that was told was about a gentleman who worked long hours, long hours, and he came home and he had like 8 kids or something like that, and he made sure that he spent at least 15 minutes with each of them. Now that might not seem like a significant amount of time, but making a priority to spend that time with each child, and I'll have to say that's not something that I prioritize as much as I should. So and that's being real. I mean, like, intentional. Like, how's your day? And I'm not talking about like surface level. Like, how's your day? Like, let's how you doing? How's your heart? How's your mind? Like that. Just even sitting with them, playing with them. That's the type of involvement. And you know what? I think even a lot in 15 minutes, that might not seem like a lot of time, but I think based on how that first step goes, you might be able to extract a lot more time than that. And I'll even add, I remember that the comedian that was at the Humble
Jason
Dad.
Earl for the Humble Dad.
So
Yeah.
the 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 one he did for you recently, that was the second time I heard him,
Okay.
and both times hearing the story about him and his playing with his daughters, and then him having him having the Barbie dolls, and that whole skit over that one
Oh,
picture,
let me let
right?
me let me set Joe up so he know. So I did a humble dad day out, a night out at my church, and I invited dads to bring their kids to have fun with and be entertained by the comedian as well as have activities for them to do with their kids. And so Jason Earls, who's a homie of mine, he has 6 kids, and he was talking about a scenario when he was having a conversation with one of his daughters. So that's what Dwayne's about to talk
Yeah.
about.
And the thing is that scenario is just him taking the time to be present, like sitting down and like playing Barbies with his daughter, and he says how much he's extracted just from those experiences, and it's like those things that we typically will then take for granted, and it's those moments where you get a peek inside of who they are in their environment, and we don't really, I don't take advantage of that as much as I should. But yes, that's extremely valuable. So as for the amount of time, I think there's a difference than just you just being there and just going about your thing than actually being in their environment,
Mm,
doing what they do,
that's good.
and being a part of that.
That's what's up. What would you say, Joe? What's
Yeah,
the amount of time that you would
I
say?
don't think there's a I don't think
Hmm.
a time limit or a time, ceiling or whatever you want to put on it. I'm not gonna say I need to be with my kids 10 minutes per day, and then that's another prescription, right? I think it's what do they need.
Mm,
It's kind of what I'm looking at. So it's kind of interesting you bring that point up about the Barbie doll. So when I started dating my girl, her little girl was 2 years old at the time. Now trust me, I'm coming into this situation, bachelor. I'm never even, kids like, ooh, that's kind of that's interesting, right? So, but I remember the first time, or after I had she introduced me to her daughter. Uh, I went over to her house, and and she immediately wanted me to come into her room and play. Right? It was just like an automatic, hey, come with me. I want you to play. But you're right, Dwayne. I think what I found is that we still do that now, 2 years later, and I allow her to do things to me that I probably wouldn't let anybody else do to me, right? So it's very interesting. What are you saying?
I said you said you might wear some makeup every now and then,
Right. So it's
or some tutus,
yeah, it's just interesting to hear. It's really a good time to see kind of how her brain works,
Yep.
and you can tell a lot of things be going through what she may be feeling,
Mhm.
right? Just by the way she interacts with her toys or interacts with you. And so I look at it as a kind of a, like you said, window in
Mhm.
to her way of expressing something through playing that she may not be able to express in an adult kind of way to me, in a verbal way, right? So it's very interesting. I think that's kind of how I think that's probably to me the time spent piece is more valuable to understand and kind of have that pulse of what's going
Mm.
on.
Yep.
Um, and I went to a private school out in North Dallas where, man, we had a couple of suicides a year. I mean, it was almost expected. One of my best friends jumped off a water tower. You know, um, we had one guy shoot himself in the head in the parking lot, like right before school started. So, and if you peel back the onion on that, you have a situation where those kids are usually raising themselves, or the parents are not, as present. And going back to this time spent, I think there's probably a direct link to them not being able to, or be frustrated, or not being able to express themselves in a different kind of way. They didn't have an outlet, right?
Mhm.
Or didn't feel they could have an outlet, or couldn't come to their parents. I don't think there's anything I couldn't come to my mom or dad about, even now. You know, I always could come to him in a very, hey, dad, this is what's on my mind. I don't know how to deal with this, right? And he go into story mode, right? But it's, I kind of think that that's probably the important piece too. Is like when you're younger, I think it changes, right? It'll change. Like the time you spend will be. Um, now I'm trying to look. I'm using that time as a window in to try to figure out how they think, how they process logic, stuff like that. But then I think first, when we get older, they'll have a feeling like, hey, I can come to dad and talk to him about this, and this, and he's not gonna
That's good.
react that kind of way.
That's good. For me, I be wanting to do the 15 minutes. Like I thought about that on Sunday. Like, how can I give each one of them a certain amount of time? Uh, Especially since I'm like, okay, they need the time. Like even my 4 year old says, "Daddy, you don't spend enough time with me, right? You don't play with me enough, right?" And she's right. She's right. It's a challenge. That's why I was asking, right? Like
Mhm.
you don't know, but I'm also asking for the guy that's going to be watching this. Like he may not have an idea of what it is, how much time. Sometimes it's not a lot of time. It's just a matter of, okay, they just enjoy being in your presence to be able to have a conversation with you. Some of them want to play with toys, or go catch the football or play video games. It's just really a matter of, as a dad, as a father, what is it that your kid enjoys, and you enter into their world. I think Dwayne was saying that, right? For my for G, my oldest, she cool with just having a conversation, right? She want to talk to me about a book that she reading, and I don't be having an idea about these books, bro. You know what I'm saying? She would start in the middle of the book trying to tell me what the storyline is, right? Okay. Then you got Joshua. He's like, I just want to sit down and talk to you, right? Like that's what I enjoy. Okay? And Ethan, he's like, okay, I want to play video games or I go see or something like that. And Jordana, she just like, listen, can we play Tickle? Can we play hide go see? Right. So it's just really a matter of who it is and and what is which part of their world that you want to be in. So this kind of transitions to the next question. The
Yeah.
next question is, and I think y'all kind of touched on it. What is a benefit to having a father in the house? Just give me one, and then you elaborate on it, and then the other person can talk, and then if you have another one, you can share that. What is a benefit to having a father in the house?
And this is one where you can go on for a long time. But
I know that's exactly why I
and
said start with one.
I think I think the biggest thing, I think I forgot where I read this, but it was something to this extent. When you have a male in the house in a loving relationship with the mother, right? That male is showing their daughter what it's like to be loved and what that feels like in a proper way. But they're also showing their son how to love a woman in a proper way.
Hey, talk to him, Pastor Joe.
So it's extremely important, in my opinion. I don't think it's a must because I think I have a slew of friends who didn't have dad, in the house, who are amazing
Hmm.
men
Yeah.
in every walks of life, right? But they also had a very strong male in a different capacity, whether it be an uncle, older brother, a pastor, some feeling.
I think we may have lost you, Joe. He was
I'm,
getting into the bag too.
yeah.
He was getting to the bag too.
I was out here working, ain't he?
Yeah, he may have to come back. Oh, there you go. All right,
I'm
there you
bad
go. All
now, man.
right, there
I
you
gotta
go.
pay attention. I think it's I think it's really important for your kids to see that affection and kind of what that respect looks like between mom and dad in the house. Um, and it's two way. Like I said, the girls is see what it's like to be loved and love for who you are, not for what you look like, and all this kind of stuff, right? And you're teaching your son what you're supposed to be doing with the person they're going to be with, right? And how you love them,
That's
um,
good.
and the respect that goes there.
That's good. That's a good start, man. That's a good start. What you got, Dwayne? How you gonna top that one, bro?
Uh, man, hey, I'm just trying to meet him in the middle.
You know what I'm saying?
No, for me, I think one of the biggest things, and like from a cultural standpoint, I think is discipline. Like women are wired differently. God wired us all differently, and a man is typically the enforcer, like as for the disciplinarian. Like um, I think Tony Evans says this. As for the alignment, whenever you have men being women and women being men, you have them out, they're out of alignment. And I think
Mhm.
as for our culture, like we have a lot of men becoming turned into women, not well, also absent, either turned into women or absent. But then the significance of having a father in the home is like discipline, and there's something particular about for a boy or a boy turning into a man takes a man in order to then develop that. And I think a huge part, like it breaks my heart seeing what's going on in culture. Like I'll even say, especially black culture now, right? You see all these people like getting in trouble with police and all this, and people are like wondering how this is happening. I think it starts at home. So as for a father, the breaking the will of a child in that instance, I'll say particularly a boy, like they want to do what they want to do and it takes and it's happened to me and I'm thoroughly grateful like for my dad and his discipline in my life because I mean hey, you want to do what you want to do, but then somebody say no, you can't do that. So for me it's just that discipline, and I'm talking about like good loving discipline, and also going back to that explanation like, hey, this is why you should not do this. It's not that, hey, out of anger or out of rage. No, I'm talking about that good discipline out of love, because this world, it won't do that.
Mm,
So the
that's
key
good.
thing you said there, Dwayne, I think is more around being an example.
Oh yeah,
It's like if you have no example to follow, then you're gonna be lost. More than
absolutely.
likely, right? You're gonna have you're gonna struggle to to see what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. You got a
Mhm.
knucklehead as a dad, you chances are you're gonna be a knucklehead, right?
Unless some,
Unless
unless
somebody steps in
yeah,
that is not a knucklehead, right? I
yeah,
mean, it's that's it's the whole village thing, right? And so if you to a macro level, I mean, hey man, that's why it's such a epidemic for the number of black men we have incarcerated, or you know, uh, in terms of education levels and things of that nature. It's there's a reason why I think we're in the spot we're in, and I think it starts with that. I mean, it's like chopping the head of the snake off. You take the snake away. Now, unfortunately, we've put our black women in a position where they have to play both roles,
that's true,
Mm,
and it makes it
and
easier for men to be absent too.
right, and and hey man, there's a lot of this stuff is you could say it's a system, it's the environment, and all this kind of stuff too, but it lands on us
Yep,
mm.
yep,
point blank. I
yep.
mean, nobody told you to go rob the store.
Oh, we went there. Okay. Yeah.
Hey man, so you're putting your girl and your wife or whoever it is in a position where they got to play mom and dad and carry that load,
Yeah.
and that's not fair either. So
And I know we're not on this topic, but I gotta touch it. Like one of the things that's been really like hurting my heart is like it's the woman's choice, right? And it completely removes the man out of the picture, right? And
Mm.
men are like, oh yeah, it's the woman's choice, and I'm like, you didn't have nothing to do with this. So like you removing accountability from yourself and then putting it all on the woman, and it's like,
Mm.
or better yet, culture. So now and that makes it easy that opens up a void, and I think like that's a vulnerability for men to just easily just skate out of the pitch and give up responsibility, and
Mm.
as a society
responsibility,
like you whenever you
accountability, all that.
absolutely absolutely and it reminds me of the in the Garden of Eden whenever God came and he's like, hey, Adam, and Adam's like, hey, she did this. It's like
That's the
even
woman he gave me.
it's the woman. It's yeah. She
He was
gave it to
trying to he was trying to run away from accountability.
correct.
I
Correct. So
see. That's okay. Did you know that 80% of women that are abortion minded, right? I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube, but that are that way, that 80% of them, if the guy says to keep the child, 80%, like 80% of women keep the child if the man is on board. I learned that from being on the board at the women's clinic, right? So when we take ourselves out of the scenario, because I did that was me, you know, like I did not. I said, that's a woman's choice. This is probably like I was 22, 23. And so it was all about like, okay, I don't want that response. I don't want accountability. So I'm going to say, okay, let that just have that weight be on you, as opposed to saying, let me go ahead and step up to the plate and take care of my responsibility. Right. And that goes back and connected to what I was saying about not seeing that example in the house of what, there's a the word that I was looking for, there would be a structure. And then I think the one you said there was a discipline, right? Like they kind of work together. That if you have discipline, you have structure. It's structured, then you definitely should be responsible, right? And so that's what I was missing. Eric Jones said one of the things that a father provides is confidence.
Mm.
yeah,
A good father.
Yeah, hey
What do
man,
y'all think?
that's a big one, man. Because I feel that now. I you know, especially in corporate America, you're in situations where I mean, I could tell you every situation I've been in growing up, whether it be school, higher learning, whatever. I've always been in a PWI situation, right? Even now, corporate America, one of a handful, a sprinkle of black people in my at my firm,
Hmm.
and there is a sense of confidence that I think I bring, and I know it firmly rooted in my dad, 1000%. I mean, I could hear him. Those times you're having doubts, you're in a meeting. I don't know what they're gonna do. Now, it's something that's very interesting, man. Like I'll talk to anybody. I don't care if he's CFO, CEO. I really don't. I
Yeah.
almost cursed on you, but I really don't care. Right?
Be
It's
you, bro.
you're a guy.
Yes. Yeah.
You're a gal, right? And that's how he was. It was like, hey, you put your pants leg on one leg at a time, just like he does. Who cares? Go in there and he said, give him hell. That's what he used to always tell me. Just go give him hell. And so I know that's something definitely I agree with Eric on that one. The confidence that you have, it's different because I could care less what you think about me. I know what I'm about. I know what I'm gonna do. I know I'm gonna truthful. This is what's gonna be. You can love it or leave it.
Yeah. And
Right.
on that note of confidence, I like that because I think I look at it like a coach, like playing sports and stuff like that. A coach don't motivate you not to have no confidence, like you gonna lose. No,
That's true. Yeah.
they prepare you to lose. A good coach, anyways, they're gonna prepare you to win and prepare you to be. So I
Okay.
think ultimately, an involved father is going to then prime and prep their kids to be confident, and not only that, be prepared. Be prepared.
That's good. There was like I think, let me see, with my kid, with my sons, right? I think all of them have, like all four of my kids have confidence to a degree. To a degree. My boys though, they got crazy confidence. My son Joshua, he rarely loses at video games. Um, he talk no, he's that kid that and I've said this on other podcasts. But Joshua is the kid that feels like he's the best person in the room, and nobody knows he feels that way. I put him in public school, right? And I'm asking Joshua about, like, what's going on, how does he feel about going or whatever. He said he's cool, he likes homeschool better, but he knows the situation, so we're gonna rock with it. And I said, so what's your plan? He said, well, I got some goals. I ain't telling him to have no goals. Now I have kind of nurtured them to have beginning of the year goals, right? But he came into the year, he said, well, I got these goals. I said, what's some of the goals? He said, well, to make sure that I act right in class, as well as try to be the best student in the class. I said, but what if you're not the best student? He said, well, I'm gonna just work harder, right? And so then you have Ethan, he's 8, and you listen, you better make sure that you're right about what you know, because Ethan's gonna try to correct you, right? and matter of fact, Kendra calls him superstar because of his work ethic when it comes to currently baseball. So and I asked them before, because one of the things that they was concerned about was not them specifically, but other people were concerned about how will my boys do in school, being homeschooled and then going into this environment. And I asked them, I said, like, what if somebody stepped to you, right? And they said, well, it's just what it is. I said, are you scared? They like, no. Like, if somebody tries to approach me, then I'm just gonna have to deal with what they're gonna have to deal with me. Basically, is what they were saying. So they don't have a fear of any kid. That's what I've come to find out. As opposed to me when I was younger, like I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have that confidence to step up to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Because I was bullied as a kid. And so that's a very good point, Eric. That confidence piece. I
But
really,
Elijah, I think you have the confidence now,
yeah.
right? I think there's a difference. One thing I figured out just in why you laughing?
Dwayne, Dwayne. Yeah,
His
yeah.
favorite basketball player is Kobe.
There's a difference, right? I mean, I think one thing about kids is that I think they're always observing,
Hmm.
always watching, right? I think some of the stuff that you just mentioned, I think I see that in you, and we probably known each other a couple of months.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not surprised that your kids are like that, right? So it's I think that example
Hmm.
is what's important, right? Sometimes you just got to see it to be able to emulate it.
That's true.
Right? And
That's
so
good. Yeah.
so I think, yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. You have to be, and don't mistake confidence. Like there's a difference between arrogance and confidence, right? You know, people always talk about, I think about my dad. He didn't say a lot, but when he spoke, you listened, and everybody respected what he had to say because they knew it was going to be very well thought out, very intentional, and it was going to be very poignant. Like there's going to be something to take out of that, right? So, people, just chapping outside their neck is one thing. Talking loud, not saying nothing, right? But just being very thoughtful and kind of what you're talking about is very important. So I think that to me is a confidence too, right? You could be in a conference room and you can have that confidence. People know you the man. You ain't said nothing.
Yeah.
It's just how you carry yourself. How do you that swag
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
you bring to, right? I think all of that comes from examples too. But like I said, that they be in the house.
It's, it's
Is
better to be in the house. Let me see. Let me take him off and then see if he come back. There you go. All
Yeah, I
right, there
mean,
you go. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have to be in the house, but near the house, right?
Mm,
So if they're picking up from somewhere, and I think that's the key.
that's what's up. It's definitely better to be in the house because you're able to see the example on a regular basis. You
Right.
know, and so that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast is to kind of highlight these dads that are actually doing a good job. You know, because in my circle, I just know all good dads. Like just I mean I got a lot like whether it's my church, whether it's my family, and I'm like, what they be talking about when they be talking bad about these dudes. Like you have all these TV shows or movies, that make the guy look really dumb and like he don't know how to do anything. However, this woman, she decided to marry this dude that's not smart, as if that makes her look better, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like I wanted to put a different spin on it. I wanted to have a platform where good dudes, good dads, are out here making sure that they have kids that are going to impact their circle of friends and their circle of the world on a regular basis. So then my next question is, because of that, who do you think gave dads a bad rep? Who gave dads a bad rep?
Like I said, I don't want to curse on the YouTube, man, but if I could spell it out, F boy.
Uh, uh,
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
there's a bunch of F boys out there.
I was gonna say baby
Don't get
daddies.
twisted. There are
Uh,
a lot of them.
so expound upon that. What like how did they give dads a bad rep?
I think when you think about just the treatment, going back to what I mentioned before, how you're loving your kid or how you love her.
Oh yes, how you love the mother of the mother.
Yep.
How do you love the mother? Okay,
Yeah, how do
I'm
you
with
love the mother? How do you love the mother? How do you love your own mom? How do you love, your brother? I mean, it doesn't matter. Just how do you love people in general, right? I mean,
you.
so if you're an F boy, you don't know how to do that. It's all
Mm,
about you.
mm.
So,
What a clip.
you don't have a sense of accountability, right? You don't have respect for others. You don't know how to follow, what's right and what's wrong. You don't think that applies to you. So yeah, but unfortunately, there are a ton of those people out there that are having an influence on our black women and the kids too. So that's the to me that's the big issue.
Yeah.
And
It's going,
so
yeah.
yeah, I almost said it's almost like an uphill battle to be the good dad, right, or the good guy, because you got to like prove that you're not an F boy first, and then right. So
That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take. Like when I thought about the question, I didn't think about the answer, and so that's an interesting take. What you got, Dwayne? What you think? You said you were gonna say baby daddies.
Yeah, I mean, but that's along the same lines.
Okay.
So I think there's not a desire to be. Uh, it goes back to commitment, like commitment, like the lack thereof. So like now it's just like it's more back to the primal instinct, and it's for especially for a man. You know, you just want to get yours and go about your way,
Mm.
and hang up as many trophies as you can. And just that's what you do. And I'll even say like based upon culture, whether it's the movies, whether it's the music, it's all about that, right? There's not about no husband, no wife, no
Mm.
family, no settling down, getting married. No. It talks about baby mama, bees, this and that. And it's which for a society like whenever you have a large amount of people looking up and idolizing, that's what I'll say. They'll idolize culture, and culture doesn't promote. It doesn't promote love and the nuclear family. Like it doesn't do that. So unless you do have that example, like Joe was making mention of, unless you do have that example, like you just you just doomed. You're a product. You're doomed to be a product of your environment. And from the standpoint of like as for generational curses, like as for my wife, she came from a broken home. I also then came from a broken home. So there has to be like the a desire to then actually change that and do
Mm.
something different. And unless you actively and intentionally do that, like you just do to repeat that fake. And it's crazy to me also like from a financial standpoint, like people want to like be rich and develop wealth, but they don't understand like it's easier with two, like with one, right? And then it's easier with two. But in that, like
It takes
one
two to
block,
make a thing go right. Huh?
come on now, come on, elbows up. But it's
Yeah.
like it's like in that it's a concept that it's not promoted in culture. So what do we expect whenever we have split homes and child support and the government now is involved in your relationships and all this, and then it doesn't go right. So like what Joe was saying, like the lack of respect. So it's like in that respect for yourself and respect for the person that you engage in. So like that's what that commitment is like. Is this person that you then do desire to lay with? Is that the person that you desire to spend the rest of your life with? If not, then you shouldn't be pursuing. Like
That's a
that's
listen. Hey, you on my soapbox, bruh. You know, that's my soapbox, bro. I learned that late though. You know what I'm saying? As it relates to trying to, like, I'm on King Talk on Lapeef Network, and that's one of my talking points as it relates to dudes out here just getting theirs, right? Because as we're saying, like F boys and baby daddies, you're giving good dads a bad name. Joe says, listen, I got to get over this hurdle because this other guy is an F boy, right?
Mhm.
But if you just be a good dude, you know what I'm saying? It's very possible you could have stayed there, and then and if you stayed with the mother of your kid, there's a better chance for that kid to be
Oh yeah.
productive, right? So that's why it would be important for you to choose, be very selective in who it is that you're gonna sleep with if you decide to sleep with somebody, right? So that's a very interesting take. So that
I, real quick, I do have to say this because I can't let the women off the hook.
okay.
Like
tread lightly, bro.
Now, with all due respect, so I have two daughters, right? I have two daughters, and in it, like it's now I'm noticing like you got women acting like men
Okay.
in that doggish mentality,
Okay.
like sleeping around is cool, like as for what to do. So like I'm sitting here like as for women, like they're just like as much as men are dogs. I think that okay, all right, that's natural, that's innate. Sorry to say, but then whenever you have women behaving the same, it's like whenever you end up getting pregnant by a guy and then you're wondering like why he ain't sticking around, why you ain't worried about that before? Why you didn't make you line that up before? Like why didn't you make sure that he is in it like for the long haul?
Mm.
So that's my take because I do think like as for abstinence, that ain't something that's like cool now. It's like all right, one night stand.
It's basically not an option.
I
But nevertheless, right? It's both parts. Like if we're
absolutely
talking about we want to break generational curses, if we want and we know the benefits of having both parents in a household, both parties need to be selective in who they decide
yeah.
to lay down with, because like for example, if there's baby daddies, right? That is very more than likely that relationship between the dad and the mom is not a good one oftentimes. I mean, there are some that are good, right? But how can that kid see how a man should treat a woman or how a woman is going to treat a man, right? And then if either party is talking bad about the other because they have this dysfunctional relationship, it makes it really challenging for the kid to kind of navigate in their own relationship. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, that's good. That's good talking. I can't remember what I was about to ask because Dwayne threw me off. You know what I'm saying? Because he went a different route. But that's okay, right? You got to be able to transition. So, um, we was talking offline about the situation that happened at the airport. Okay, where the woman slapped the man, right? And when she was in his face, and then somebody got between them, and then she slapped the dude, and then the dude did the Lawrence Taylor move or whatever defensive tackle Aaron Donald move, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And tripped her and then hit her. Okay. And there was a lot of backlash on both, like for both sides. Like some people were saying that the woman was wrong, some people were saying the man is wrong. But I don't want to necessarily go from that angle. I want to go from the angle of if if either one of them was your child, what would your conversation be uh, before or after that scenario happened?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. So, like, am I which who's my kid?
You choose. You choose.
It couldn't be the female. Unfortunately, it couldn't be because
Explain to me why.
how are you going to get in another man's face or in a man's face? Like you're putting yourself in danger. Now, I'm just saying from a physical standpoint, and I think that's what I was even making mention of earlier as well. It's like whenever you have women acting like men, and I think this whole idea of equality has gotten things out of whack because physically a woman is not up to, especially even in that particular video, like you could tell that dude he was doing some things. So for her, it was more of a I don't know, the lack of discipline, the lack of self control in that regard. So it's like that's why I'm saying like it couldn't be my because I want to encourage self control. I
But
want
what
to.
if it was? What would you tell her?
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
I see that's a tough one. It's like I consequences. I preach consequences. That's for with my kids. Like, hey, self control. So you have to have self control. And if you don't have self control, how much worse is going to be whenever somebody else has to come in and control you? So in that regard, like it breaks my heart honestly and truly, because it's like it didn't have to, on both sides, the guy and the girl. But then in particular, like that's, I don't know, like maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's a woman's nature to be like that.
Mm.
Bad,
The
like,
the videos hard to get the context though. It's like, I mean, we saw what happened, but we really don't know how it started.
Right.
So that's hard to comment on it. I mean, I think you mentioned self control, discipline. You know, yeah, those are probably the most important things in that kind of situation. How do you uh, keep something like that happening or escalating,
yeah, yeah.
right? De-escalating the situation. But you know, hey man, I'm gonna tell you like this: if somebody slaps me or hits me, it's gonna be a problem.
Mm. Man or woman? What? Even if it's a woman?
Woman's not gonna be a problem. Man's gonna be definitely gonna be a problem. That's not gonna go down, right? But you know, if it was a woman, I have to. That's where that discipline and self control come into play. Okay, hold on. Let me. Cause I've had someone try that before. I think they got about right here. Like, oh, hold on. No. What we not gonna do is that.
That's
Then we de-escalate it. I think I said something like, "As long as you black, don't you ever put your hands on me."
dang it. That's what's up.
And I meant it. So he knew it too, right? So
Mm.
it's like, hey, that was my way of saying, hey, you may want to back away.
That's what's up.
So I mean, to your point, Dwayne, you don't know how that guy's gonna react. I mean, he reacted in a way that she probably wouldn't think he was gonna do,
I
right?
don't know why not.
But that's the thing about all that. I mean, you could take that in any situation, right? I
Hmm.
mean, especially in Texas, you got situations now. Everybody's packing, right? You can
Yeah,
act a fool if you want to, but
consequence.
just know that that guy or that gal may have a piece on them. Then what you gonna do,
Mhm.
right? So it's just I think it all goes back to just being aware of how you're talking to people and how you're treating other people. You know, you can't just always flip off at the mouth or say whatever you want to say or be physical or whatever. But unfortunately, people don't know how to express themselves in other ways beyond physical.
Mm.
So
That's a
we
good.
That's
want
true.
to
That's true.
go
Oh,
back to root,
yeah.
right? Root cause analysis, right? I don't know what her background is, but maybe she only knows how to resolve stuff in a violent fashion,
But then that
and
would
might
that would that
have
would
for
that.
him too.
Hmm.
You don't
So
know.
I would then have to ask, like, I mean, like, would do was there, based on her actions, was a dad involved in her life?
I don't know.
I,
Maybe. I don't think
like,
it's. I don't think that's a direct correlation. I think
see,
it's just I don't know what her environment is, right? I don't know what her environment was. So I'm saying I don't even know what the context of the video was. It's just she was mad about something. He stepped in. I think she pushed him or hit him first. Then he went off on her.
Yeah, and there was a moment he could have walked away because she turned her back on him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there was a moment, even still, like you don't
Yeah.
know if she's
So
raised by a dad because it's just a better opportunity for you to make sound decisions. But that doesn't mean that a woman that's raised by a man is always going to make um, good
yeah,
decisions as it connected to dealing with a dude. You
yeah.
know,
Everybody makes mistakes, man. I mean,
yeah,
I think both of them, if they were looking at that video now, probably think that was both. They both probably think that was a mistake.
I'd hope so. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, this has been good, fellas, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure y'all get off at a reasonable time to go hang out with y'all people and everything.
Yeah.
Uh, this has been good dialogue. Now that means I got to go find some other questions. You know, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all had some really thorough answers and very thought provoking. So I really appreciate that. You know, does anybody have anything to say before we sign out?
I mean, thanks for the invite. I like the forum. This is pretty cool. I like what you're doing. So
Absolutely.
keep that up. Dwayne, it was nice meeting you. You know,
Likewise, Joe.
virtually. I don't know what part of town you're in, but I'm sure if you're hanging out with this dude, I don't know. The suspect thing, you know.
Hey, hey, appreciate you,
Nah,
Joey.
man, he good people, man. So I'm friends with his girl now, Kendra. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
she in
that's
my,
how. Okay, yeah. I didn't even
girl.
say that. That's how I met Joe.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Okay.
because Kendra, well, his girl and Kendra, did they go to school together?
Yeah, I
But
think
they
so.
know each
Yeah.
other somehow, like, and so that's how we connected. And I got to hang out with Joe for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so trying to figure out when we can hang out another time.
Yeah,
Schedules just be busy, bro. You know what I'm saying?
get this
But
weather
listen,
right.
Good.
you
We
want
gotta get the start.
that's what's up, Dwayne. What you got, bro? You want to say anything before we get out?
All right. It was great meeting you. Had great discussion. I love a substantive conversation. Like a lot of these conversations now, man, just be like shallow and surface level. And I want to check out. But yeah, no, I love a thorough, deep discussion about substantive issues that's bothering our culture. So most people want to complain but not have solutions. I like being able to come and have a forum like this. So I appreciate that.
That's what's up. Hey, for all those that's out there, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? And without anything else to say, until next time, we out here. Deuces.
See, man.